Can you talk a little bit about, I guess, in terms of your journey moving from the C Method to Podcast Services Australia, and then going from a startup into something that's growing quite powerfully and strongly? What sorts of things have you had to think about in terms of getting over confidence barriers there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There's a great quote, I think it's also a book, that goes, "What got you here won't get you there."
Yes.
And I love this because when we are growing a business, we go through different phases, and you may find doing something that works for you, right? So let's say at the start of your business, you got to do everything yourself. You are the marketing person, you're the salesperson, you're the technical person, you're the admin person, you're the accountant, you're doing absolutely everything. And that's completely normal and that's totally fine. In fact, I think it's important that you have an understanding of all those different elements of business. And so doing everything yourself will work for you up until a point. But then there reaches a point where as you start to gain more clients, you have a bit more regular work coming in, all of a sudden it all becomes too much for you. And you reach that point where you go, okay, I can't continue the way I'm going. What got me here, as in doing everything myself, is not going to get me to the next level. So that is where you need to have a shift in your mindset to go, okay, I need to think differently to get me to the next level. So this might mean outsourcing. So the action you might take is, okay, I need to hire an accountant, or I'm going to outsource my marketing or outsource my bookkeeping. But doing that is scary. Again, that comfort zone thing, it takes a bit of a leap. One of the scariest things for me was hiring my full-time assistant. That was a huge commitment because I've got to commit financially, and I've also got to know that I've got enough work for this person to keep them on full time. And so that was a real leap for me, but I had to change my thinking first.
Yeah.
Because to change an action, you've got to change your thinking. And so I had to go from thinking, I can do everything myself. I got this. I can do it all. I had to go from that to thinking, I can't do everything myself. And if I want to grow, I have to bring on help, and I have to take that risk, and I have to trust that I can afford to bring this person on. And so I made my first hire, full-time executive assistant, and that's been one of the best decisions I've ever made in my business.
Oh, it's fantastic having help, because you end up with people who are better than you at doing something. One of the most powerful things I ever learned in terms of a concept is when you're ready to grow and you're ready to bring somebody on, or you're trying to decide whether to bring somebody on, figure out how much your hours are worth, and like how much, like your consultancy rate. What are your hours worth, and what are you doing that you get somebody else to do that would be cheaper than paying yourself? I think that's really, really a powerful thing.
Yeah. It really requires you to value your own time.
Oh, yes. Well, not just your own time, but your own expertise.
Yes.
And the fact that you've developed that expertise over a period of years. And that comes back to that whole confidence thing that we've been talking about, where you know deep in your bones that you can do this really well. You know you can help people, and therefore you believe that you can give value to people. You have the confidence to hire somebody and bring somebody on. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. So thinking about that growth, whether you're either starting from scratch, or you've just developed a business idea to the point where you're ready to take off, or you've already got a business and you're kind of ready to move forward and really start to grow it. What other tips can you give our listeners that will give them the confidence or the ability to develop the belief that they can do some more of those things that they want to do?
Well, I've got a couple of simple exercises that people can do that I know really helped me, especially at the beginning of my business. When you were talking about, believing that you're worthy and that you know your expertise, Trudy, and this is critical. So for me, in business, mindset is absolutely key. So one thing that you can do to further understand your value, because, Trudy, it's so hard for us to recognize the value that we bring.
Yes.
We often think, oh, I do this thing really well, But in reality, we offer so much value that we're blind to. So one thing you can do is go and ask 3 people who you trust. Maybe these are trusted clients. Maybe they are good friends of yours, people who know you really well. And you ask them 2 questions. The first question is, what do I do well? And in the business context, this might probably works better if you ask some trusted clients or people you've worked with. What do I do well? And that's great. They'll give you an answer. You probably already know the answer. You'll be like, yeah, I know that. Let's say they'll say you're easy to work with. You know, that's something you do well. You're easy to get along with. And you might go, okay, great. Now the second question is where the magic is. The second question is, and why is this important to you?
Yes.
So it would go like this. Let's say I ask you, Trudy. I would say, Trudy, I'm really curious to know, what is one thing that I do well, and why is that important to you?
And I would say you connect really, really well with our participants in our online business liftoff program, taking them where they are and giving them the confidence to take the next step forward.
And why is that important to you?
What is that important to me? Because when you're just starting something new like that, you've got lots of voices, and they're not just the ones in your head. They could be family, they could be friends, they might be old bosses or whatever, saying, who are you to do this? You don't know how to run a business. Who's giving you permission to do this thing and start your own business and do your own stuff? So people kind of need, at that stage, at that point, they need somebody who believes in them more than they believe in themselves at that point in time.
Okay, so Trudy, what you just said there, when you just said that that you connect with the participants, and that's important because they need someone who believes in them more than they believe in themselves. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
It's true, Christina.
I didn't know that that's how it came across, right? So now I've just realized, oh my gosh, that's value that I add that I didn't even realize I did. That's powerful stuff. So that answer to that second question is so powerful. And when you get those answers, you need to hold on to them and reflect on them and really take the time to go, you know what? I am awesome. I add that value. You know, I sometimes ask my podcast listeners those 2 questions, and I'll never forget. I got this one email back from a listener. She was in Europe, and she said, Christina, one thing you do well is you play the ukulele well. And I was like, what? Because I play the ukulele on my podcast as my intro music. I was like, okay. And she wrote, and it's important to me because you demonstrate that you don't have to be so serious to be successful as an entrepreneur. You can be a little bit silly and you can be unique and quirky. And then she wrote, in fact, you inspired me to start my own business. And I was like, oh my God, mind blown. I thought I was just playing the ukulele for a bit of fun, but I had no idea what value that added to other people. So it's such a powerful exercise to do.
It is a really, really powerful exercise. And you know, it's about taking some time to ask, as you said, but then, as you also said, reflect on what people say, because in our minds, sometimes we're blank canvases. We can't see how we project to other people, and we need people to reflect back to us how we come across. So I think it's a really powerful technique. That's fantastic. Any other techniques or tips did you want to share with our listeners?
Well, to add to that, something else that really helped me was anytime I got a nice email or a nice tweet or something encouraging from a listener or a client, I would take a screenshot of it and I'd put it in a folder called Crush It in my Evernote folder. And anytime I was feeling a little down or lacking confidence or unsure of myself, I would go back and read those beautiful comments from people. You know, so never underestimate the power of kind, supportive words from people. So it ties into the whole, you know, getting feedback from others. But oftentimes we need other people to remind us of how good we are.
Yes, I you know, that just having supporters and listening to what they say, that is valuable. It's really, really valuable. And sometimes it can make or break you. You know, you might be having the worst day in the world, and having somebody just say something really simple about what they value about what you do or offer, it can just mean the world, and just make the difference, make it possible to go on the next day and the next day and the next day. So this is just a shout out to people who are thinking about whether they want to give people positive feedback. Please do, because
Oh,
when you give
yeah,
people positive feedback, it gives them the energy and the strength to keep going.
absolutely. And I
Yeah.
love that you mentioned, you know, being around good people. That absolutely helped me as well.